Meredith Gorman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
UFC Seattle, Henry Cejudo is back against Song Yadong Fight Night card over in Seattle. It's been a while. It's been a while since they've been out that way in Seattle, and all they get is a Fight Night card. I'll break down the main card like I always do, provide free picks, leans, price talk, and more, guys. Like always, systemsportscapping.com or link.me/systemcapping. Everything over there. Head over to the link tree. Easy access to anything that you want to see, including resume, client comments. I got articles up there, tons of articles that I've been writing about 1 or 2 a week for the Hot Takes app. So go over there and check that out. Got client opportunities, records, and more. Long-term, high percentage winning is what I do, guys. Long-term winning. Get on board today. Beat the books in all sports. We handicap. Currently handicapping UFC, PGA, NHL, right now 4 Nations, been doing well there. And then also, of course, NFL is over, but studying always happens. And we'll also be looking at the college NCAA tournament only. I'll be doing a March Madness card, so look out for that. First outright winner last weekend of 2025, only been a month. We were able to cash in on Alberg. Plus 2,500. Nice hit there for myself and clients. Had a nice profitable market top 10. We got him at plus 220 or 240. Good value there on such a good player. Must bet this weekend. We had 4 Nations pending bet in the finals today. Also 1-0 in the tournament so far. We took US over Canada in the first game. Like this video if you're watching on YouTube, guys. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get a podcast, it's much appreciated. A lot of more people are listening instead of watching. Either way, you get the content. Doesn't matter for me. It is much appreciated if you are listening. It was a nice fight night card at the Apex for myself, clients, and podcast listeners. Cannonier was always the value. If you were going to bet that fight from a straight up standpoint, side, you had to bet Cannonier. Right? Rodriguez just hasn't shown he can win in that spot yet against a caliber fighter like Cannonier. And 5 rounds was always going to favor Cannonier. And Rodriguez came out not smart, is what I would say to make it simplified, right? Came out, tried to finish him in the first round. Gassed out. Cannonier took over later in the rounds and ended up finishing him. Right? Cannonier proved he's just not a gatekeeper. Even he said he is, but he can win big fights. He can beat guys that are coming up. And Cannonier is not done yet in this division, guys. Is he ever going to get a title shot? No. I don't believe he's going to get another title shot, but he'll be there. He'll be there fighting, top 10 guys and doing well as well until, the wheels totally fall off. We had a nice winner on Walker earlier in the card, early prelims, plus 400 by submission. It's a nice ticket for us there, big ticket winner as I call it. Back-to-back submission wins for Walker. That's Johnny Walker's brother, for you guys that don't know. He could be a problem in this heavyweight division if he's getting fights down to the ground and looking for submissions, guys, right? Not a lot of heavyweights do that. So hopefully Walker continues that way. He fought smart in that fight. Shahbazyan, nice to see him get back in the win column and a first round finish against, I mentioned it on the podcast last week, guys. That guy, Budaka, one of the worst in the UFC. He had to get that finish. He had to get that win under his belt. He did so. So hats off to Shahbazyan. Had him in a 2-fight parlay by finish as well. So it was a nice hit there. And then Petrovsky, plus 240 ticket as well. So a lot of underdog big ticket prices came in through for us. I expected it to be a close fight. It was a close fight. You can argue it could have went either way. Which I understand. But Petrovsky did enough to win it. And when you see plus 240 ticket, I had that fight at even money. I had that fight at very close, right? So when you see plus 240, there's a ton of value. You have to pull the trigger, no brainer there. Only loss on the card was the Bonfim fight. That cut, right? He got cut and then he couldn't see out of his eye, but apparently he said he was okay to fight. The doctors Didn't understand him. I don't know. It was a nice kick either way. Bad luck for Bonfim. I believe he probably would have won the fight if that didn't happen, but it's a fight. Things happen, right? Let's get right into it, guys. Let's get right into it. Shop around for best market prices. Like I always say, have access to multiple sports books. We cannot stress that enough, guys. Cejudo plus 220 versus Song minus 275. Henry just won't go away, right? He continues to fight. What's his motivation now? Obviously, he's not going to get a title shot again. And it's possible. It's possible because of the division, but I doubt it. He would have to go on a little run, right? You have to beat Song, you have to beat someone else, and then maybe. But I doubt at this point of his career. You know, is he just fighting for a paycheck? He's getting big paychecks, right? So is he just fighting for that? It's hard to really say. Obviously, he's very competitive and motivated, so I don't think he's just going into the fight unprepared. We saw in his 2 losses, in his 2 return fights, he did lose both, but they're very top-level high guys, right? Sterling and Merab. You know, he was in those fights at times, right? Merab out-wrestled him, which was kind of strange. He doesn't have that same power in wrestling, it looks like. And remember, those 2 fighters, Sterling and Merab, are good wrestlers as well. Song isn't. Right? So if Henry Cejudo could really establish his wrestling in this fight, I think there's value here at this plus 220. Now, if you're just going to go out and stand and bang, and it's going to be a very close fight, I would favor Song. Right? It's a 5-round fight, too. At this point in Henry's career, I'm going to have to favor Song in a 5-round fight as well. But there's a clear path here for Henry to win this fight. Right? Way to beat Song is take him down. Time and time again, a lot of fighters take him down. You know, it's at times hard to control him there, but you can take Song down. Right? The big question is, how is Henry going to approach this fight? That's what it is, right? His striking's not terrible, but Song will have the advantage on the feet, in my opinion. Henry's going to need to mix it up, make it an MMA fight, maybe make it more of a wrestling style fight. But can he wrestle for that long? Remember, this is a 5-round fight, guys. If this was a 3-round fight, I actually would like Henry a lot more. I'm slightly leaning to him now, and it's mainly just due to the price. That's all. I can't bet Song at this price. Very difficult to bet him at this price, right? You know, Song's, if we look at his takedown defense, 72%, so it's not terrible, but it's not great either, right? We see a lot of guys that's worse wrestlers than Henry take him down. Song 2-2 in his last 5 fights, guys. 2-2 in his last 4, sorry. 2 wins against lower level guys. All right, Ricky Simone, Chris Gutierrez. Not terrible guys, mid-tier guys. It just never got there. Anytime Song steps up in competition, he loses. Right, this would be Song's biggest name on his resume if he can pull it off. Even Henry is towards the end of his career. You know, the big question is just, what does Henry have left? And sometimes it's hard to handicap that. If you look back at his 2 fights, he wasn't getting blown out of the water. And he was fighting wrestlers. In this fight, he has an opportunity. He's not going to get taken down, right? He's going to be able to out-wrestle Song if he decides to. The question is, can he for 5 rounds? Hard to say. Hard to say if he can do it for 5 rounds. And how does he look on the feet against Song? Right? How focused is he, right? You know, he has other priorities right now. Podcasts he does with Usman. The family life is too. I think he has two kids now. But at this price, right? If you're going to put a smaller unit on Henry, I'm not going to call you crazy. I do believe that's the value play on this fight. I cannot bet Song at this price. So if I were to bet this fight, it only could be on the value on Henry. You know, I expect this fight, my favorite play is probably, the fight to go over in rounds. And you could see this fight go to the distance as well. Henry did go 5 rounds with Sterling. What was it, a year and a half ago? Song, we know, can go distance as well if needed. Both guys are tough to finish. We have seen Song get finished in the past, but Henry doesn't really have that power on the feet to finish him at this point of his career. So, yeah, fight could go all 5. How is Henry's cardio at this time? There is concerns about that. That's the way I would look in this fight if I were to bet it. Co-main. I'm more excited for this fight, to be honest, guys. Hernandez Fluffy, minus 300 versus Allen, plus 240. Like this fight, guys. And why I like it, Hernandez is getting more of a test in the wrestling department. You see him out dominating other guys on the ground for long periods of time, and his cardio's up there with the best. He's very relentless. But Allen can wrestle. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and how Hernandez can he dominate Allen there with the wrestling. Allen's coming off of that Imavov fight where he showed up at times, but he looks sluggish at times. And we see how good Imavov now is, right? Just finishing Adesanya. Imavov may get a title shot any day now. So I can't really back that against him now. Allen's wins, it's just very low-level guys, right? He had that 7-fight win streak, but it's low-level to mid-tier, I have to say. I can't just say low-level. Right? He beat guys like Chris Curtis. Right? That's his best win, guys. So, right? Chris Curtis towards his end of his career, too. He lost to Chris Curtis previously. Right? When he steps up in competition, he loses fights. Imavov, Strickland, and then, like I mentioned, Chris Curtis. Do we have Hernandez as that step up in competition, and is Hernandez that guy in the division that could, push for a title? His striking won't really tell you that, but his relentless, like I said, his grappling wrestling's very good, very high level, and he'll continue to come forward with some of the best cardio out there. And we know Allen does not have the best cardio. I do favor Hernandez in this fight. I agree that he's favored. It's just the price again. It's pricing, right? And he has proven he can beat some good guys. Kopolov, very good guy. Not really a wrestler. And then Pereira. Pereira can wrestle strong, good on the feet. That was a good win as well. Excellent pressure from him. The wrestling and the cardio just too much for a lot of guys. Right? He continues to just push, looks for takedowns. Doesn't get it, he'll continue. But like I mentioned, this could be arguably the best wrestler he faces. So how is that going to look, right? Even though Allen can be taken down, he's very crafty with submissions. He does get up as well, right? His 58% takedown defense says it's not great, but he does have offensive wrestling as well. I'm leaning Hernandez here. It's just pricing concern. Maybe improve it. You could take him by decision. Is he going to get a finish in this fight? Possibly, but it would be, a ground and pounder submission? It is live and possible. I think Allen is tough to finish, though, on the ground, right? So, yeah, I would have to lean a decision here. Fight should go the distance. It should, or a late round finish. So, like the 2.5 rounds over could be a look as well. But I'm excited for this fight. Very excited for this one. It should be a very high-level style fight. Font, plus 130 versus Musamento, minus 160. Font is back quickly, right? He just got that upset win over Kyler Phillips, 3 months ago? And Font at that time, he's a big underdog. Gatekeeper now in this division, let's be honest, a little older, right? But he's getting younger killers, and he proved that he could beat those younger killers in Kyler Phillips. Mosamendo, another younger guy. I don't know if he's a younger killer. He's not at a Kyler Phillips level yet. He's 16-0 though, guys. That's very impressive. Now, why I think Font is live at this plus 130 is Mosamento is not really a wrestler grappler. Like, if he came in as a big-time wrestler and grappler, Font does struggle with those guys. But you don't see that on tape from Mosamento, right? Now, he's 25 as well, 2-0 in his UFC career. Wins over Argoleta and Katona. Katona's nice, decent small wins there, but the story is, can Font, keep this standing for the most part? And if he does get taken down, how does he react? Like, Mosamento could wrestle a little bit, right? He averages just over 1 takedown per fight. But he could also be taken down. A lot of his fights he's been taken down. I don't expect Font to take him down. But you never know. We've seen crazier things happen, guys. Again, Mosamoto's taking this fight on short notice. I don't like to really get involved with these short notice fights. You don't really know how the guy's going to come out. Right? This is supposed to be Dominic Cruz. Remember? But he went to the training camp and realized he can't do this anymore. So in comes Mosamento. Right, it's also at catch weight, guys. This fight's at catch weight. I stay away from these uncertainty fights, and that's what we have here. So when there's uncertainty, and if you're a volume guy and you really like to bet fights that are uncertain, I suggest always stay away from those. Yeah, you want to take the underdog here. Fawn, who just showed he can beat a younger upcoming guy. Sure. Wouldn't take that away from the equation if you were to bet him here. Again, I don't bet every fight. I never suggest to do that. But yeah, that's the only way I could look here. If I were to bet this fight, I'm staying away due to the uncertainty in this one. John Silva is back. I always like watching him fight. Minus 550 versus Bagadasarian, the Armenian, plus 400. Big favorite on the card here. I believe it's for good reason. Do I believe anyone should be minus 550 at times in the UFC? Probably not. And this probably would sit there. I have, Jean said maybe 3-1 favorite in this fight. So this price is definitely inflated. I do expect him to get the win here. It'll be interesting to see how he plays this fight. Obviously, fighting are the fighting nerds, one of the best camps. They do fight smart. And I think fighting smart here would be to take him down. The Armenian does not grapple, not a good wrestler. He's a good striker, very good striker, and can be dangerous if Silva just keeps it standing. It's going to be interesting how he approaches it. I'm not saying Silva's some big-time wrestler and grappler. He's not. But he does have it he can wrestle and grapple. That's where he's going to have the advantage in this fight. I think on the feet it's fairly even, right? The Armenian has some good power, too, in those hands. So you're playing with fire at times as a big favorite. Use your advantages in fights, guys, no matter who you are, right? Always use the advantages. That's why I stress time and time again. We see Walker do it against Mays in that fight. He got the fight down to the ground and found the submission. He knew he was going to win in that way. There's always a path for a fighter to win the fight. Does he get it there? Is he able to get it there and take advantage? It's always the question at the end of the day. If we look at some stats here, volume's very, very similar. Just over 5 for both guys. So on the feet, guys, if this is a 3-round fight on the feet, I think it could be very close. Where I see some value submission could be live. The Armenians, both losses have been by submission. He has 2 losses, both by submission, and 1 recently. So that could be live here with Silva if he can get the fight down there, right? You can get north of 500, plus 500 out there. That is an option here. I expect Silva to win in some capacity in this fight. Obviously, the line and market is telling you that. Keep his win streak alive. Just hard to bet him at this money line price. Last fight I'll talk about here, guys, is Menefield. Minus 250 versus Walker, plus 200. It's another concern type of fight, right? Short notice for Walker. Debut for Walker. And his nickname is Juicebox. His nickname is Juicebox. Tough for me to back a guy's named Juicebox, even though it's Menefield and I have concerns with Menefield, right? There's concerns with Walker too. Only 6 fights in his MMA career. Menefield's veteran with 20. Right? Decent wins over Jacoby and Crute. Now, Menefield, 37 now. Coming off back-to-back losses by finish. That scares me. Right? And you're getting a fiery, younger guy who's very athletic. An ex-basketball player. Has some good reach and length on him. It's just impossible to bet Menefield at minus 250. If you do it, hats off for you for being super brave. It's a lot of concerns. A lot of concerns here. The short notice, like I mentioned, I haven't seen a ton of tape on Walker. When I looked at it, it wasn't great. Right? He's fighting very low-level promotions prior to this fight and call-up. He did have a bunch of amateur fights on his record there, but this is a fight you just don't want to bet, guys. Right? And again, if I had to bet this fight, you take the plus 200 value there on Walker. I just don't know what Menefield has left. And then the question is, does Walker, he's raw, he's green, only 6 fights. Right? So he could just slip up to a veteran here. Maybe Menefield, decides to wrestle or something, or catches him with a big shot. Very possible. This fight will not be making my client card, I can tell you that much. I suggest not to bet it either. If you are, you can take a shot at the money underdog. That's the only way I would look at it. That will do it, guys. That will do it. UFC Seattle. Nice to have some fights back in Seattle for that region. Sure, it'll be a packed house over there. We got a couple good fights on this card, a couple on the prelims as well. I'll have a client card out Friday after the weigh-ins. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Enjoy this card.